In this true crime documentary, we uncovered the shocking case of Becky Watts. That's a lot of rice. It's really hot anyway because of the microwave. I want a drink. Ready? No, it's fine. Dad, don't. I'm taking half of this. I'm not going to drink it. No, I'm not. Bex, if you can see this, get in contact. And if anyone out there knows of it, just tell us. Springer, I'm safe. If you've got her, then put her somewhere we can find her. We want her home. Please. Our story today takes us to the city of Bristol in the southwest of England, about 190 kilometers from London. Bristol is known for its old harbors and for the warmth of its people. Despite having nearly 470,000 residents, the city has always been seen as a safe place where serious cases are rare. Among those residents was the Watts family, the father, Darren Galsworthy, his wife, Angie, their daughter, Rebecca, known to everyone as Becky, and her older brother, Dan. Becky was born on the 3rd of June, 1998. Her parents, Darren and Tanya, had already separated before she arrived. Her early childhood was unsettled. She spent her first years with her mother, until concerns of neglect led to social services stepping in. Soon after she and her brother, Dan, went to live with their father. Those who knew Becky described her as strong-willed with a sharp sense of humor and an ability to light up the room when she felt comfortable. In school, she was quiet and reserved, but her teachers remembered her as caring, kind, and someone with an enormous heart. She had only a small circle of friends, but they were deeply loyal to each other, and she cherished them. Life began to feel more stable when her father started a relationship with Angie, who also had a son named Nathan. When Darren and Angie married in 2013, Nathan stood as best man, and Becky walked proudly as a bridesmaid alongside his girlfriend, Shauna. Yet less than 2 years later, the family's world would collapse in ways they could never have imagined. That morning seemed like any other. Angie had a medical appointment. Darren was at work. Becky went out to meet her boyfriend, Luke Oberheim. As she made her way back home around 11 in the morning, she and Luke were still sending messages to each other. She texted him that she had arrived safely. Then the conversation ended abruptly and she never replied again. Luke kept trying to reach her, but she never replied. By 4 o'clock, he was knocking at her door, only to find she was not there and that her phone and laptop were gone too. Her disappearance did not feel like the act of someone who simply chose to walk away. Her family and friends began searching, and as the night passed, the fear grew heavier. He dialed 999 to report that his 16-year-old daughter had vanished. That day, the Avon and Somerset police arrived at the house, and according to the first reports, the last person Becky had spoken to was her boyfriend, Luke. So naturally, he was the first to be questioned. But Luke explained that after he met her, he had gone straight to the dentist, and investigators were able to confirm his alibi. The police then began speaking to Becky's family, and what they learned painted a complicated picture. She had struggled with severe anxiety, and for years she had been bullied about her weight, which pushed her into anorexia. Yet everyone agreed that in recent months she had seemed happier, especially since starting her relationship with Luke. Nothing in her life suggested that she would willingly walk away from home. Soon the data from her phone was retrieved, and it showed that the last time it had been active was around midday from inside the house. This proved she had returned home just as she told Luke, but it also raised a chilling possibility. If her phone never left that house, then someone must have entered in broad daylight and taken the 16-year-old girl from her own home. For detectives, this changed everything. The case no longer looked like a simple disappearance. The way it happened suggested that with every hour that passed, the chances of finding Becky alive were shrinking. That was the direction police were following until her stepmother Angie suddenly spoke up and shifted the investigation onto an entirely new path. Angie explained that when she came back from her medical appointment, her son Nathan and his girlfriend Shauna were inside the flat, and they were still there later when Luke came over to ask about Becky. It was Shauna who went to Becky's room. This revelation forced the investigation in a very different direction. Nathan did not live in that house, and it was unusual for him to visit so early in the day. Even more troubling, he knew that his mother had a doctor's appointment at that exact time. This raised questions investigators could not ignore. Suddenly, the focus of the police shifted because now Nathan and Shauna were not just family members. They were the last known people connected to Becky before she vanished, and their answers could hold the key to everything that happened inside that house. I went to the garden to help feed the rabbit while I had a cigarette. Probably was about 15 to 20 minutes. Then we came back up. I went to the kitchen to get a drink. I think I was washing my hands. Then I heard the front door slam. And then, I think it was until a lot later on that Angie asked me if Becky had gone out, and I said yeah. I heard the door go. She must have gone out earlier, washing my hands, I think. I heard the door slam, front door again. I didn't look at the time, watching anything of it, so I didn't really kind of think, oh, what was that? It was just a door slam. Becky moved and gone out. I've accidentally got this in the wrong order. Let me just go back slightly then. The door slamming. Then you've got to get from the kitchen through to the living room. How far away from that front door would you have been? You've got the front door, the living room, and about halfway up the hallway is the kitchen. So I would have been at the sink. So, no distance, a reasonable amount, I'd say. Okay, immediately before the sound of the door slamming. What could you hear then? I think it was just CB music. I was kind of more, trying to make sure that it meant back and getting my drink. No, I heard stomping downstairs. That's what made me think that Becky left in a mood. So I said to Angie, because of the door slam, but I wasn't sure if that was the wind. He said she treated his mother badly, even though Angie herself never once complained about such behavior. Still, Nathan eventually agreed to give his version of events. And once again, he repeated the same story. But you're thinking that's the front door that stopped? Yeah. Okay, and who did you think that was then? Well, Becky. I didn't particularly talk to her, but obviously I didn't particularly like her. And obviously what annoys me is the way she speaks to my mom sometimes. She'd be kinda like rude or whatever, I think in an actual, specific time. And that is not how genuine memories usually work. For the police, this meant one thing. Shauna needed to be brought back for another round of questioning, because while Nathan was closing himself off, she might be the one who slipped and revealed the truth. Has Nathan had any concerns about speaking to us? Not that he told me. No. If he does, I wouldn't know. How's he finding it? He's found it quite hard, actually. He's kind of more thinking, my God, knowing how hard it would be for his mum at the moment because Becky was almost like a daughter to her. Have either you or Nathan been involved in searching for Becky? No. I wasn't aware they were doing a search. I didn't realize until yesterday. I went on my Facebook and there were news articles and pictures popped up that they did the search. After this stage of questioning, detectives became more convinced that Shauna and Nathan were involved in the disappearance of Becky. Especially since neither of them had joined the searches. And Shauna excused herself by saying she simply did not know. 9 long days had now passed, and the search for Rebecca Watts showed no sign of slowing down. Friends and family scoured the parks and woodlands near her Bristol home, hoping against hope to find her alive. Volunteers poured in, determined to keep looking no matter how long it took, and posters with her face were placed everywhere. The police called in the major crime unit and brought forensic teams back into Becky's home to see if the walls of the house itself carried hidden answers. Yes, I know you've got something to tell us. I can see it in your face. I was just making sure there was nothing like a weird significant thing that I had you in thought of. I don't know anything. The focus of that day's interrogation was the suspicion that Nathan and Shauna were directly involved in the disappearance of Becky. And to the detectives it was clear that both of them were lying, especially Shauna, whose eyes betrayed the weight of something she was hiding. A forensic team was immediately dispatched to search their home. What they walked into was a chaotic mess. Instead, they continued their questioning over the next 2 days, while the forensic team pressed deeper into the wreckage of the home. Then, finally, 2 small pieces of paper shifted the entire case. Receipts from the B&Q hardware store, dated the very same Friday Becky was reported missing. The purchases were chillingly specific: an electric circular saw, safety goggles, gloves, and a mask. With that undeniable evidence, both Nathan Matthews and Shauna Hoare were The statement read, "I, Nathan Charles Matthews, admit that I am responsible for the death of Rebecca Watts on February 19th, 2015. I went to Crown Hill, St. George, Bristol with my girlfriend Shauna Hoare in my car. My plan was to scare Rebecca by kidnapping her. I wanted to frighten her and teach her a lesson. I believed she was selfish and that her behavior toward my mother was a threat to her health. I said, 'Can I see you for a minute?' I'm not sure of the exact order of events, but I used the equipment to restrain Rebecca during the brief struggle. The mask slipped off my face, and Rebecca was able to see me. She was cut apart in the bathtub, which was later scrubbed clean, confirming the suspicions of the officers who had noticed how unnaturally spotless the tub appeared in an otherwise chaotic and filthy house. How about if we start with this idea you had about scaring Becky? I do want to know if it was on TV or something like that, but obviously I had a couple of dreams. The plan was obviously, once I got her in the car, I was thinking of a wooded area to obviously take her back out. Obviously still have the mask on, scare her, and say something along the lines of, Juve, gotta start treating people better, not being a bitch or self-centered. I didn't want to make a threat of, or this could happen again, or worse, something like that. Obviously walk away after without obviously letting her try to follow after Nathan's admission. The case was far from over for detectives. The heaviest burden still lay ahead because they had to locate the remains of Becky, which had been scattered and hidden in different places. Eventually parts of her body were discovered, including some found inside a nearby house, not far from Nathan's home. Later it would be proven that 3 men and 2 women who lived there knew what was hidden inside and eventually admitted they were aware that bags in their property contained her remains. Avon and Somerset police have said that body parts have been found at a property in Bristol. Formal identification has not yet been completed, but Becky's parents say they are devastated by the news. As a result of new information received late last night, we attended at a house at Barton Court in the Barton Hill area of Bristol. The information suggested that Becky's body had been cut up, and a search at the new location resulted in the discovery of body parts, although formal identification procedures have not yet been completed. We have made Becky's family aware of this discovery as a result of this latest development. A further 3 men and 2 women have been arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. They remain in police custody at this time, as do the man and woman arrested on suspicion of Becky's murder. For investigators, reaching this stage was progress. Though it came with unbearable tragedy, yet one truth weighed on them heavily. They were convinced Shauna was directly involved, but at that point there was no solid evidence linking her to the act itself. So they turned back to her phone, hoping it would reveal what she had tried to erase. The digital forensics team managed to recover deleted text messages, and what they uncovered was deeply unsettling. Both Shauna and Nathan shared unhealthy fixations that revolved around inappropriate fantasies. For months they had exchanged disturbing messages about trying to lure someone vulnerable. One message dated December 9th, 2014, at 12:48, had Nathan writing to Shauna, "Bring me back to pretty girls from school." When questioned about it, she simply replied, "No comment." Later that same day at 6:14, Shauna herself sent another message saying she had just been to a shop, noticed a slim young person, and almost brought her home. followed by laughter symbols, kisses, and playful signs. Shauna refused to explain these words, yet the forensic evidence spoke louder than her silence. A bag linked to Becky carried her DNA, and so did one of the masks tied to the crime. The first message is 9.12. 2014 timed at 12.48, and it says, "Tell me about that text message." Next message is the 12th of September 2014 at 18.14. It says, "From Shauna. Shauna, what can you tell me about that?" Am I right in thinking that this girl was similar to Becky's age? In the end, their fantasies were no longer enough, and so they turned their attention to Becky, intending to use her in ways too painful to even repeat. On the day Angie left for her medical appointment, Nathan arrived at the house shortly afterwards carrying what he called a kidnap kit that included a stun device and handcuffs. He walked into Becky's room and overpowered her, pressing down until she could no longer fight back. Then he struck her with a knife 15 times before placing her body into the boot of his car. What made it even more chilling was that Nathan and Shauna then stayed inside the house, acting as if nothing had happened while family members came and went, unaware of what lay hidden outside. Later they drove away and took her to their own home, where the next day inside the bathroom they dismembered her, wrapped the remains in plastic, covered them with salt, and hid them inside a garden shed belonging to a neighbor. The relationship between Nathan and Shauna was twisted and volatile. Nathan was often violent towards her, choking her and maintaining control, yet those close to him claimed she too held a dangerous influence over him. His mental health deteriorated during their years together, and the only bond that truly tied them was a dark obsession. They both shared a bond that would eventually destroy everything around them, I suppose. The thing is, from someone outside looking in, is that what is saying is that he has gone to the address with an intent to kidnap her, and it has been quite convenient that Eerie at the garden having a cigarette, and he est doing what he is doing. Do you see what I mean? Someone might say, well, hold on a minute, she left a note. There's no way you could do that, or take those items. Take some stuff with them and the intent goes there without you knowing. I'm just trying to make, again, the car. I didn't see anything in the car again. Like I was saying to my sister, I didn't look in the boot. It would be more unusual for me to look in the boot at any time. Were you concerned about leaving him on his own in the house? Rebecca? What you've got to do is prove that you're not involved in this. So when I'm asking these questions, always bear that in mind. Because that's what you need to do now, because at this moment in time, you've still got this position where you are in the house. And so if there is anything at all that's going to help you, you must tell us now. Nothing, 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 nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Despite everything that had torn their world apart, Darren and Angie remained together, their marriage standing firm against the storm. Darren later said, "My love for her is immense. I will never give up on her. I lost some members of my family because I refused to turn against her. If this tragedy could not break us, then nothing ever will. It really is unwavering, and I've lost a couple of members of family because I turn on her. I will never desert her. If this doesn't break us up, then nothing is going to." But even with the sentences delivered and the appeals denied, one question still lingered in the air. How could two people bound by such darkness turn their own family into the target of their obsession? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. See you in the next video.